Tiffany, and this is my channel, Who's Your Handmade. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Today we have a really fun collaboration video, and I'm going to be reviewing these two shirts. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that you will consider subscribing before you leave today. I would love to welcome you into the sewing community and get to know you better. And thank you so much to each one of my friends who are tuning in again today. Thank you for your support and your friendship. Do give this video a thumbs up if you like this kind of content, and don't forget to comment down below. Have you ever made this pattern, or is it a pattern that you would consider making? I would love to chat with you down below in the comments. Today's video is a collaboration video, another one. I was so excited when Agata from In Agatha's Cottage contacted me to do a collaboration with her. She has become such an amazing sewing friend, met through this YouTube channel. She lives in Ireland. She has an amazing channel. Do go check her out. If you've not seen her channel before, she's amazing, an amazing sewist. She sews so much for her family and sometimes for herself. She's getting a little better, but she has become such an amazing friend. We'll message back and forth. I can ask her sewing questions. It's just been so much fun to get to know her and to become such great sewing friends. So she contacted me about wanting to do some collaborations featuring a pattern that we both had never sewn before. So these patterns are in our stash right now, and we just have not had time to sew them up. For this collaboration, we chose the Love Notions Rhapsody Blouse. I'm so excited to see her version. I hope she's had as good an experience as I have had. You can probably tell by the look on my face that this shirt is the one. It is the one I've been looking for so long. What an amazing pattern. Now I'm going to go over some pattern details and my experience, what size I made, what adjustments I made, why I love it. But let me just tell you, if you have this pattern languishing in your stash, get it out and give it a try. It is an amazing pattern. I actually made this one first. So we are celebrating the 4th of July here in the US, Independence Day. Happy Independence Day if you are celebrating today. I'm having a great time with my family right now. We're camping, but in celebration of July 4th, I wanted to find some kind of patriotic fabric. And let me just tell you that this is as close as I could get in this giant stash of mine of patriotic fabric. That's crazy. I do have some blue and some pops of melon in there, but that's as close as I could get to patriotic colors of red, white, and blue. But anyway, I made this one first out of that patriotic fabric and I loved it so much. I love the pattern. I love the fit so much that I made this version right here. And let me tell you, this fabric is special. Actually, both of these fabrics are special, and I will tell you about that when I get to the fabric section. So let's jump into the pattern description itself. This pattern comes in sizes extra small to 5X. It has 9 sleeve options. 9. I have chose to do the flutter sleeve. I adore a flutter sleeve. I will probably choose that option anytime I'm given the option. So I've chosen the flutter sleeve, but there are many other versions that you can make. This is for woven fabrics, and that pushed me, that stretched me. I am more comfortable with knit fabric, so I'm so thankful for these collaborations that are pushing me outside of my comfort zone to find a pattern that I really, really love in a woven fabric. You can make this pattern into a blouse, such as I have done, or a dress, which I hope to do in the future because this is such a great pattern and I love to wear dresses. One really great feature of this pattern that has probably cinched it in for me as being an excellent pattern is that it offers a full bust option for the front pattern piece. So they recommend if your high bust and your full bust are greater than 4 inches in difference, that you choose the full bust option for the bodice. So I went ahead and did that. mine are right at 4 inches, so I went ahead and chose the full bust option. And keep in mind when you do this, and they tell you this within the pattern instructions, so read your pattern instructions, but keep in mind that when you choose the full bust option for the front, you get an extra 2 inches at the waist and hips, and that just made this shirt so comfortable. I can move, I can breathe, I'm super comfortable in this shirt. Choosing that full bust option, I think, made this outfit for me. Suggested fabrics for this shirt again are woven, so lightweight wovens like crepe or lawn or rayon challis. I have chosen 2 rayon challis. Talking about this one over here first, the pink one, that fabric is from Fabric Mart Fabrics. I bought it in 2021, so it's been in my stash for a couple of years. I paid $4.50 with it. If you wonder how I know all this information, check out my organizational videos. I will link them down below. It will give you an overview of how I catalog all my fabric within my app so that I know all this information from when I bought every piece of fabric within my stash. But back to the fabric, this is a rayon challis. This fabric is also a rayon challis, and this one is precious to me. Now that one was precious to me because I love the fabric, I love the colors, but this one is super precious to me because this fabric came from Minerva.com. So I made a purchase in August of 2021 to Minerva.com. I got several pieces, and this is the first one that I have ever gotten brave enough to sew with, to cut into and sew with. So go me for using this precious fabric. It is just beautiful. I absolutely love it. But let me tell you that rayon challis is a little tricky to sew with. So I'm going to give you a few tips here in a minute of what I found to help me work with this rayon challis. Moving on to fabric requirements. So how much fabric are you going to need for this pattern? Depending on the view, whether you make the blouse or the dress, you're going to need anywhere from 1 to 3 yards. So really not that much fabric at all. And then another thing that I noted with this pattern is that it gives you instructions for French seams. It gives you instructions for at least French seams on the side seams, and maybe somewhere else. I can't really remember. I disregarded the French seams. I don't like doing them. I think they're fiddly. It is a really nice finish. It gives a really pretty finish, but it slows me down. It kind of messes up my rhythm. So I ignored the French seams and just used my serger. So let's get into my versions of this pattern. I made the size 2X with the full bust option for the front bodice, and it fits me so well. The fit is so great for myself. I feel like the shoulders are in the right place. I can move. My range of movement is great. The back feels great. The front feels great. It's just a perfect fit for me. I did use the flutter sleeve, as I mentioned before. I did change a couple things. I used a smaller seam allowance than what is called for. So on the sleeves and then on the side seams, I only used a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I just wanted to be extra sure that everything was going to be flowy and not fit me too tight. So I used that 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then in this pattern, they want you to use a bias binding to finish your neckline and to create these ties with, and to do the V. You can't see the V very well in my kind of fabric, but that is a V there. They want you to use a bias binding for that, and they don't give you a pattern piece. They just kind of tell you how long it should be. Well, this rayon challis is not, it's not conducive to making bias binding in using my little bias binding makers. I'm kind of still new at doing that anyway, so I got to thinking about other patterns that I have made, and I remembered that my Friday pattern company, Sagebrush Top, had given me a pattern piece for bias binding. So I dug that pattern piece out and I used that one ×2, so I cut it out twice on the cross grain to get that little bit of stretch that I needed for my self binding, my bias binding for both of my shirts, and it turned out so well. There's something kind of fun about doing bias binding yourself without the tool. I know it's time consuming, but it's kind of just methodical and lets your brain kind of have a break. You fold it and then you fold it again and you iron it and you try not to scorch your fingers, but it was fun. It was great. So that's what I did with the bias binding tapes. I used 2 of them, put them together, and I really like the length that was achieved with that bias binding. Now, why am I obsessed with this pattern? So let me just give you 3 reasons why I'm obsessed with this pattern. The fit is amazing. It's like they had my curvy body in mind when they was designing this shirt. I don't know how they did it. I can't explain it, but the fit is just so amazing. I love the fit through my bust line on into my waist. I think I've got a lot of definition there with using 0 darts. There are no darts in this pattern at all. And usually that kind of fitting has to have a dart in it, requires a dart. So I was so pleased with how this shirt fits. The second reason is that it is an amazing stash buster. So I talked about fabric requirements 1 to 3 yards. I can make my size in the shirt with less than 2 yards of fabric. That is amazing, and that's including the bias binding, you guys. That's including using the self fabric for bias binding. That's unheard of. That's amazing. I have so many pieces of lightweight woven fabric in my stash that I have erringly bought 2 yards of, and I just didn't know what to make them. I didn't know how to make a whole garment out of only 2 yards in my size. But this shirt, this magic unicorn shirt, gets it done. I will be using this pattern so much for stash busting in my stash. And then the last reason that I love this pattern is that it actually is a fast sew. So you really do not have that many pattern pieces. It does feature a yoke on the back. Let me actually turn her around and show you that. So there you can see that it has a yoke on the back, and then it has this really neat feature right here, this little pleat. It's like an inverted pleat. I don't really know the terminology for it, but it's like one that's inside instead of on the outside. Really beautiful. Lends a really beautiful drape in rayon challis. I'm super happy with this. Even though it has those added details of a yoke lining, this is actually lined right here with another piece of fabric. I just use muslin on there, and even though you have this little pleat, it goes so fast. An afternoon nap session for Addie, I can make one of these shirts. So the time, the fit, and the stash busting properties make this shirt the one for me. Real quick before I go, I do want to give you just a few tips for dealing with slinky fabrics. So rayon challis is shifty to me. It shifts, it wants to warp its shape, it wants to change its shape. So here are 3 tips that you can use when you're working with shifty woven fabric. First tip I would give you is to use some spray starch. So I just use this Best Press when I was making the bias binding. I would spray the Best Press on my fabric and then iron it. My next tip is when you are ironing, and this rayon challis takes an iron very well. It irons very well. It'll stay in place when you do iron it, but do not move your iron around. Simply press. Do not move your iron around when you're ironing for your fabric. If you do, you're going to shift your fabric, you're going to warp it, it's going to misshape your pattern piece or your shirt entirely. I had a little bit of trouble on this one, on the hem. The bottom stretched out just a little bit for me. It's not something that I hate, it's not something that's going to keep me from wearing the shirt, but I learned my lesson on this one to only press with my iron. Never move the iron on the fabric when you're dealing with rayon challis because it's going to warp the fabric. And then my last tip would be to baste as much as you want to baste. This shirt does have that yoke piece, so there is another piece of fabric in there, and those like to shift on each other and move. So I went ahead and just basted. I basted up here at my shoulder, shoulders. I actually did a line of top stitching right there. You can't really see it very well, but I did a little bit of top stitching to just keep my layers together because this rayon challis is very drapey and shifty, and they're going to want to move on each other. So baste as much as you want to baste. Don't follow the pattern. Do what you want to do. And that is my review of the Love Notions Rhapsody blouse. Again, it's the one. It's an amazing pattern. I don't know. This is going to be a hard one to top. This is a great pattern that I will make time and time again. Do give it a try. If you have this pattern buried in your stash somewhere, pull it out and give it a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at how it turns out. Thank you so much to Agata for collaborating with me on this challenge. She is such a dear friend. I'm so excited to see her make. As of making this video, I haven't seen what she's made with her Rhapsody blouse, so I'm excited to see it. It's going to be beautiful. She's an amazing sewist. Do go give Agata a follow. Go check out her collaboration video after you're done with this one. If you're coming over from Agatha's video, welcome. I hope that you will take a peek around and maybe subscribe. I would love to welcome you here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.